So this is the map off of Dirk's ECU. And the first thing we're gonna do is go to sensors, and we're gonna go to other, and we're gonna select rotary trim module 1. You can see you can have up to 6 different rotary trim modules with this software. So we'll enable it. Of course, it's gonna give us the warning, danger to manifold, because we don't have it wired up yet. So we'll go to wiring under rotary trim module number 1, we'll go to assign, and then right then and there you can see what we have available to us. So we want to use an AVI, you could use an SPI, but in this particular instance we'll go with the AVI. And we have AVI 2, which I think is used by the ignition. For some reason, I don't know why it's not enabled here or being used. AVI 5, pin 20 on the smaller connector off the ECU itself. That's used usually for the fuel temperature sensor. So we're not going to be doing any fuel temperature sensor. We can get rid of that basically since it's not being used, and we'll reassign it to use this. So we're going to use that as our AVI. So we're going to use AVI 5, which was the fuel temp sensor. We'll assign it. We'll make sure that we don't have our pull-up. Pull-up is really designed when you're using a temperature sensor to have a resistor in line. So we're not going to do that. Disable that, AVI 5, and then we will get our 5-volt reference, because it works off of 5 volts, off pin 1 or pin 9 on the auxiliary connector. It's a 16-pin connector. We'll use our 5 volt from there, and then you can use chassis ground for this particular input. If it's a engine sensor, you don't want to use chassis ground. You definitely want to use a signal ground off the ECU. But in this instance, we can get away with chassis ground or any ECU ground as well. So we'll do that. We'll get this bad boy wired up, and then we will be able to control our boost. All right, guys, we've wrapped up Luis's Q50 3.7 liter custom single turbo setup that's on there. You can see it has the Stillen intake manifold off the supercharger kit. So it's been adapted from once having a supercharger. Now it's got a single turbo kit. I can't tell you exactly who's done and made it, but I can tell you it does have a comp turbo, 6467, and it is an 82 or an 81 AR. One thing we were definitely battling was getting the boost up, and this is something that we've had an issue with in the past. So Luis has changed the AR size of the turbine housing. I don't remember exactly what it was before, but we're still battling that. And really, we even went and tried completely disconnecting the signal hose off the wastegates, so there was no signal whatsoever, to see if we can try and get the boost up a little bit higher, but really our max was right around 8.5 pounds of boost. I couldn't make any more than that. So, considering it did pretty well, it does show that it has a bottleneck at the very top of the RPM. And if you look at the boost curve, which we'll get to in a little bit, it just starts to drop off, somewhat significantly. It's not making a ton of boost, but you can start to drop off in the 4 or 5 PSI at the top. So definitely, close to half of what it's making peak at a lower engine speed. So what's it have for wastegate springs? I am not positive, not sure what he had, but we tried going from single port, which is the way it came in. We ended up doing a twin port boost signal off of that. Didn't see any difference. And of course, why would we when you disconnect the wastegate anyways and you're not getting any signal to it? Just as a test, we did that once we were on E85. We didn't want to risk it on 91, but essentially the boost that it makes on 91 octane is the same boost it's making on E85. So 91 octane, really, really good for 465 wheel. Because we couldn't raise boost pressure up on E85, we're really only being able to play with our ignition timing and AFRs. So we got as much as 510. So, about another 45, 50 wheel just by doing that. So yeah, maybe a little bit of homework Luis can do, changing potentially again the turbo setup on there. Again, you gotta remember you got all 6 cylinders running through one turbo, so you really gotta match the right turbo for that. You know, it's gotta definitely be way bigger than your little twin turbo setup that you're gonna do. So all in all, it's alive, it drives, it makes fairly good power. So can't wait for Luis to get it back in his hands.